The promotional image for this port has Ray the Flying Squirrel owning an iPhone with Netflix on it. You think he watches Red Notice? Guess who's back? Back again. Mania's back. But it's on my iPhone. Guess who's back? 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 Sonic Mania has slowly become the most accessible Sonic game of all time, especially with the release of the Fan D compilation in 2022. I went over many ways that you can play the game in a previous discussion, and I thought it was safe to say that while the D compilation would keep ports of this game alive forever, we have reached a satisfying conclusion of official releases of the game with the last generation releases, the port to Amazon Luna, and the release on the Epic Games Store. And then Sega bombed my house. In December of 2023, Netflix announced that they would be bringing tons of beloved titles to their newly opened Netflix Games subsection of their app. Games like Hades, Grand Theft Auto, and of course, Sonic Mania Plus. Thus making my discussion about the many ways of playing Sonic Mania outdated. On my own birthday. Well, Sonic Mania is finally available on mobile. Yes, this is exactly what people wanted back in 2018, when there were rumors that it would be ported by Hyperkinetic, who were added to the game's opening credits. However, I feel that this port leaves a lot to be desired. Many parts feel underbaked, unfinished, and downright unacceptable. How could this be, though? Sonic Mania is an amazing game. How could Sega possibly make a bad port of an amazing game? I said those exact words in a previous discussion before I started talking about Sonic Colors Ultimate. How will this affect the Hedgehog's legacy? First, opening Sonic Mania on Netflix immediately gives you a warning of what's to come. Sega! So, in this version of the game, every bit of audio is choppy and lags. Initially, I thought my phone was messed up, but after making sure it was fully charged and seeing other people go through this game on iPhones, no. This is how it's supposed to be. At the same time, you may notice that the game is letterboxed rather than filling the entire screen. You know, like the other classic Sonic games on mobile. Well, that isn't a major deal breaker. I'll get used to it. Everything else still looks the same, right? Oh. So, to optimize this port for mobile phones, Netflix changed the look of the main menu from a scrolling list of options to a large screen that changes channels as you tap left or right. On paper, this isn't a bad concept at all. I actually really like this idea. However, the way it's implemented is downright horrendous. Why is the confirm button in the corner if you can just tap anywhere on the screen to select the option? Why do you even have it there in the first place? Why are these arrows so small and not even centered? Because of the way it's implemented, half of the time the backgrounds look extremely empty. Why does the static go over the black outlines on the corner? Why does the arrow to go back look inconsistent with the other arrows, lacking an outline and in general just looking ugly? Why does the game fade to black and restart the music again when I open the options menu? Why can't I slide the sliders to change the sound volume? I have to tap it. Ugh. It feels so half-baked, like if almost no effort was really put into it. And the worst part about it is that they didn't even have to put in any effort at all. The original version of Sonic Mania, before the release of Mania Plus, had a menu that would perfectly adapt to a mobile phone, but no, uneven arrows. This menu is actually abysmal, and I can't fathom how the menu could get any worse. I lied. Look at this. How did this get past testing? Pressing the arrow moves the entire user interface. How? Why? And the arrows that you use to select characters weren't changed whatsoever to be consistent with the new arrows, and they weren't made any bigger, so you have to be extremely careful when selecting a character. This entire user interface experience is incomprehensibly awful. How did anyone look at this menu before release and approve it? Now, take that sentence and replace this menu with literally anything else in this port, and congratulations! You have Sonic Mania Plus on Netflix. Booting up the game, we can immediately notice that the touchpad that you control the game with does not look right. It acts more like a directional pad when tapped instead of a touchpad, which is good, but why does it look like a touchpad when it could easily look like a directional pad? That makes far more sense. Or why don't they emulate what was aimed in the other mobile ports of the classic games? You know, the ones who were made by the people who made Sonic Mania? The touchpad itself also looks super jaggedy, not matching with the rest of the game. If they wanted to make it look pixelated, I would have personally gone with how Sonic CD did it, recreating the look of a Sega Genesis controller with its touchscreen. The way that this game does it, though, is just gross. On top of that, some players also experience poor visuals in a pixelated game. On almost all Android devices, the screen is scaled incorrectly, causing the pixelated visuals to look completely wrong. On the iPhone version, it looks fine, but the fact that a large group of users are going to experience these poor visuals is unacceptable. Oh, remember how I said the audio was choppy earlier? Yeah, it still is, and there's even some bits of audio missing. I've had enough. I quit. I'm done. I'm playing Sonic Mania on the Wii U. This port is downright bad. There are so many issues that baffle me as to how they made it past testing, but I'm sure you're thinking, if this port is so bad, how could you possibly know what makes a better port? Well, because I have a better port. This is the Sonic Mania decompilation iPhone port. It's a fan-made, from-the-ground-up port of Sonic Mania using the decompiled code. It requires you to legally own the game in some way so you can extract the files, and it's properly optimized for the phone you use. So, if I have an ultra-wide phone, it'll actually display the game in ultra-wide. And, do you see that? Those are the touch controls that are similar to in Sonic CD and don't look awkwardly slapped in. And, do you hear that? That's smooth as butter audio, doing the incredible music justice. And, of course, even on Android, the pixels look correct. This is how you do a port of Sonic Mania. The blueprint was right there, but Netflix neglected it and improvised its own ideas. And it couldn't even do that right. Sonic Mania's Netflix port is downright unacceptable. On their own, these issues aren't too terrible, but together, they make an experience that has numerous issues that can't go unignored. The poorly done UI, the visuals on Android, the audio issues, the lack of ultra-wide, it's too much. The fact that this port made it past the testing stages is genuinely scary to me. If this is an example of how re-releases on Netflix are going to be quality-wise, then I don't see many people trusting Netflix games for much longer, which is extremely sad. The idea of the service is actually kind of genius. Having a bunch of extra games with your pre-existing movie subscription, that's great. However, with quality control like this, I don't see it lasting in the public eye. But I can't wait for people to defend this game and go, I mean, guys, this port is like Sonic Colors Ultimate. I mean, I may be suffering from a seizure, but at least it's still Sonic Mania, guys. It's a good game. 76 on Metacritic.